George Ramsay, hey, welcome to the Biscuit Blitz. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. And this has been a long road to get here, to get to this Zoom, but I'm really glad to see you on the other side of the monitor on this one. Would you please, let's kick this off by you telling us, how long you've been in Charlotte and what you do, what your passion is, and then we'll get into a little bit more about that.
I've been in the Charlotte area since 2009, went to Davidson College, and then moved to Charlotte once I graduated in 2013. And what was the second question?
Second question is, this is the biggie, man. This is, tell us what you do and what your passion is.
Yeah, so I co-own a music lesson company called Bold Music Lessons, and we're passionate about music instruction, and definitely providing high-paying, steady work for talented musicians and creatives.
Amen. That is, the operative words in there is high-paying. Like we got to make sure that our creatives, if they choose to make this their vocation, don't have to sweat. Stuff.
Yep.
That they know where that next meal is coming from. They know that they have health insurance. They know they can afford to pay for the lights. So that's yeoman's work.
And they can afford to continue to make their own, to continue to create.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we were in some meetings last week where we were talking about that we've got to get Charlotteans to realize when they see that mural or they hear that song they love or they watch that they need to think beyond. Did someone have to have 3 jobs?
Yeah.
In order to make the money to really do their passion? And if so, how do we fix that? We've got to make the job of a musician or an artist or a creative valued in the same way that a lawyer, doctor, plumber, electrician really gets considered in Charlotte.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, here I am. I'm going to put my soapbox away so we can let you talk. I do want to, before we jump into it, I do want to ask, when you moved to Charlotte after Davidson, go Wildcats, what was the music community like that you found, and what was it that you saw, and maybe how is that different than what you see today?
So I was immediately drawn to how inclusive it was. I had no problem getting into the music scene here. And that was as a musician myself, not even necessarily with the business or anything like that. I immediately was able to plug in with some local musicians. They started throwing me gigs and stuff like that. So over the years, I think it's just grown, and I've gotten to know more and more musicians, across the city and the region, and more so than ever, I'm completely blown away by the talent that lives in Charlotte and in the greater Charlotte area.
We were chatting about this before we started, and right now in Charlotte and across the nation, we need to be very mindful of having inclusive, diverse groups behind any effort, right? And one thing that struck me in the research I did for this interview is your squad of instructors is incredibly diverse. Mm-hmm. What role? That doesn't seem like it was manufactured, right? It just came together. What role does music and creativity have in bringing people of diverse backgrounds together? What power does it have to do that?
Well, we could talk. We're actually doing a pretty big project on that we'll talk about on social media and things like that. It's such a loaded question. But I think, at the heart of it, music is a celebration of diversity and is a celebration of different cultures. So, I mean, if you look back, even just in America, all of our music, I mean, like white America did not create American music and American culture. That didn't come, that came from Black culture, pretty much exclusively. As far as things go along with basically just with staffing and with teaching and with creating, everyone's influenced by everyone else. So it was certainly not intentional to have a diverse teaching staff.
It just happened organically, right? I mean,
yeah, completely. It happened completely organically. And I will say, I've had some conversations with some of my teachers recently. We've got a really, really diverse staff of teachers and a really, really undiverse roster of students. So that's something that we're working on.
But that to me, I mean, I think that's great that you're thinking that far ahead, but but there's a responsibility and honestly an honor, right? In that you're able to take a group of students and make sure that they have a wider perspective, right? And that they are looking beyond maybe what they're seeing in their neighborhood or their school.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's whether that's having a teacher who's doesn't look like them, or learning music and actually learning where that music came from. I mean, that's can be really, really valuable to people who might otherwise live in a pretty sheltered bubble.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've really been struck by with Bold Music is I'm sure there was a lot of paddling under the water that we didn't see, but from the outside, it looks like you didn't miss much of a beat, pun intended, in making a transition during COVID time into online classes. How's that gone?
We were fortunate. We switched 100% to virtual instruction in mid-March, and we were actually fortunate in that in February we implemented virtual makeup lessons. So we had been training and we were ready to go essentially with the virtual platform in February. So that was easy. We just sent an email out and we transitioned over to virtual. It has not been without difficulty and without challenge. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it's been all rosy, but we sort of hunkered down, looked at it as a challenge and realized that, if we can all band together, whether that's, our teachers and our community of students, we'll get through it together, and we'll probably create some really cool things, and we'll come out more creative and more, connected than ever before. So that's been our mission. And so far we've been able to do that pretty well.
Well, so I guess I would ask then, give me quickly, like, what's a good thing that's come out of COVID time, and what's something that you really miss about how things were before?
We miss the in-person interactions for sure. I mean, it is, we made our bread and butter back in the day doing in-home music lessons. So we would be in the house of students every week, and we would have in-person events, our gig nights, most recently at Heist Brewery. We miss that. We want to get back to that as quickly as we possibly can when safe. But on the bright side, we've realized that there's a ton of advantages to virtual instruction. It's more accessible, it's more affordable, and it can be more convenient. So someone that lives maybe 45 minutes outside of Charlotte, or like in between here and Asheville or in Asheville, is now able to be a part of the Bold Music family, when before that we would have just written them off and be like, oh, well, you're not in our service area, so we can't help you. So we've become actually more inclusive in who we can work with for a variety of reasons, thanks to having to kind of think outside of the box.
I guess, and that's probably great exposure for your instructors as well, because that may lead them to online gigs or fame that they can tap into now. But then when some of these restrictions are lifted, maybe they do some gigs well outside of Charlotte that they wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah, that's the idea for sure. We're really working on cultivating that kind of online community. So the hope is that over time, when things open up, opportunities like that will arise. We've also recently hired some teachers in Raleigh. So there's going to be like a pretty cool connection between Charlotte and Raleigh, and potentially some other cities as we continue. Yeah.
Jeez, if you can heal the Raleigh-Charlotte divide, only music may bring the capital city and the Queen City together.
Yeah, that's also a work in progress. We'll see how that goes.
Well, one of the innovations I know that you guys are taking on are these at-home collaborations, and you've got one coming up with the Levine Children's Hospital and Seacrest Studios. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that came about. Actually, I can't remember exactly how that came about. A publicist that we're working with, Callie. What's up, Callie? Is friends with some people at the Levine Children's Hospital, and we've been doing these at-home collaborations where basically students and teachers and friends and families all record little pieces of songs, and we put them together into a video. Just as something, it's a project. When you're learning music, it's a process, and a lot of times you need like, hey, I need to figure this guitar part out. That's a deadline that you practice towards and execute. But it's also fun to be part of something cool. So we started it out just kind of as an idea. We did a cover of Your Song by Elton John. Yeah. And we've since done a few more, and we've gotten some really great positive feedback for it. And we just wanted to kind of include other people, and the Levine Children's Hospital was interested, and we're going to do a Toy Story. Well, it's You've Got a Friend in Me, most notably from Toy Story, doing a cover of that. And it's going to feature, I don't even know how many, a lot of people, a lot of students, teachers, and then a bunch of staff and patients at the hospital.
That's great. And I can't think of, a better partner for you than Meredith Dean and her crew.
Oh, incredible. And it's not easy to do. I mean, to orchestrate this, thankfully we've got in-house, some of our teachers are like really talented audio engineers, producers. They can do video editing. So it's an ordeal, but in order to even make that happen, it's kind of hard. It's a project that Meredith and her staff have got to take on and things and upload things correctly. So it's a pretty big operation that we're excited about.
I have a feeling you guys are up to the task. All right. So we have just blown through the 5 minutes, but this is a great chat. And this is not the last time we'll be talking, George, but let me, in the last 30 seconds, just give Charlotte creatives some advice, because, we have a bit of an uncertain future. What advice do you have for Charlotte creatives right now?
Don't give up and lean on other creatives, lean on each other. I mean, in some of the darkest times, most challenging times, that's when some of the best creation happens. So there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So hunker down, and if nothing else, keep creating. And when we get out on the other side, you'll look back and be like, wow, this was not all for nothing, because we created some really cool stuff.
That's great. Well, okay, now you've encouraged me, or at least inspired me to go play with my Woody and Buzz action figures.
Yes.
So, and I'll sing "You Got a Friend in Me."
Absolutely.
You got a friend in Charlotte is creative. So if you need anything, drop us a line, man. You're doing great work, George.
Thank you so much. Well, we really appreciate you having us.
All right. Take care.
All right.